But what are some tips that you could give a guy from a hunting and fishing standpoint with photos that are realistic that they can adapt?
Okay, here's the biggest tip of all. Because right when you started talking about that, I thought of tips, and I thought this is the biggest one. The biggest one is to get your camera angle lower. People tend to like to stand up, and they don't change their body from where they just like, if they're standing up, they just like point the camera down at the person holding the fish or whatever. But you get down and we give it what's called the hero angle, executives, people in power always want a low camera angle. Not too low, but it gives you that kind of,
So are you basically eye level then, or are you just
a little bit lower? You're kind of like
lower, and you're shooting up a little bit.
Like chest level, shooting up, and that fish or that animal is going to look better too, where it's more in the foreground. But you may really like just kind of get down, and I always tell people it makes it intimate. Like you feel like you're part of that experience. But I can't stand when I see people like taking a picture standing up as somebody sitting down or like holding a fish or something. It drives me nuts. Like get down on their level.
It's funny you say it because I tell guys all the time to squat down.
Yeah, and then you get sky behind them also instead of like, the rail of the boat going through their head or, a trolling motor coming out of their ear. But that's the biggest tip. That's the biggest tip for sure. The second one is take lots of pictures. I tell people it's free. Like it's not costing you anything. Like take lots of pictures. And the third one, this is an old war saying that I like to use for stuff like this. I think it was Robert Capa, that old war photographer. He coined a saying, "If it isn't good enough, it isn't close enough." He was talking about war photography. Like, a war going on from 100 yards isn't nearly as interesting as a war going on from 5 yards. Same thing with fishing, or wildlife photography. Get down in there with it, unless you have a really long lens. But yeah,
That's another big one I see. The guy standing on the front deck, and all you see is everything but the subject. Like you don't know what the subject is.
Yeah. And I take it for granted. To me, it's obvious, but I get it. Most people, it's not.